Update. I'm Scott Faughn, coming into you the day before the big election. It's going to be a fun day tomorrow. Lots of fun. We'll be in St. Louis watching things. I hope you've enjoyed some of the F-150 campaign tour. I'll start it off with let's just work around the state kind of clockwise. We'll start about at 9 o'clock over in Kansas City. Lots of competitive races. It's Trump effect in full effect. You have your working class white guy union folks who are always been Democrats, union guys. Social stuff's about a lot for them to take. Then you take the social stuff combined with gas prices, and all of a sudden you have some folks that are becoming Republicans. Then you have the other end of the spectrum. You have your Lee Summit, maybe college-educated folks who've always been Republicans and now becoming Democrats. The problem for Democrats is they're not gaining Lee Summit voters for every independence voter they're losing, every Northland voter they're losing. So in a bad year for Democrats, and look, you could slice it however you want to. I have no doubt that there's a very good macroeconomic argument for the fact that that it's not Joe Biden's fault. However, go to the alley bar in Parkville and explain a macroeconomics lesson to an old boy who's paying double for gas. He didn't want to hear it. Didn't care. It's the thing about the coach. I mean, the coach can't play on the field, but who gets fired? Can't fire 26 players. You have to fire the coach. So I think in this situation, when you're in the chair, you get a lot of the credit and you may get a lot of the blame. And maybe you don't deserve either one. Who knows? Going forward is going to be it'll only get more interesting as things transpire. I do think there's going to be a very interesting race in the Northland. Ashley Ani rising, starting on the Democrat side. Republicans really targeting her. Down in Independence, Robbie Saul is defending his seat. Even a little bit to the west of there. Another seat's being closely fought over. I think let's just kind of roll to Columbia. You have a fight over Chuck Basie's seat, old seat. Chuck Basie being Chuck Basie, having fun on Facebook today, I heard. Brian Hawksworth bringing heat on the radio, interviewing the Republican candidate, throwing right in and asking about Chuck's Facebook stuff. I thought that was funny. Going to do an interview, right? Bring your A game. And Brian Hawksworth will have you bring your A game. But back kind of rotating around the state, I think that the map was drawn in a way that I think Democrats are probably happy. I think what you saw was the Democrats on that commission drew that map where they could maybe pick up 10 seats. Unfortunately, you could have drawn it where you would have picked up 5 seats in any climate. They drew it where maybe they could pick up 10 seats in a mildly good climate for Democrats. It has been a long time since there was a good climate for Democrats in the state of Missouri. And I think that tomorrow is going to be another day that's not good. It just is what it is. So shout out my Jennifer Bukowski mug. And I want to tell you, when you come to Jeff City, it's almost session time. I'm going to give you a pro tip about Jeff City. Pro tip. Reserve your room early. If you wait to reserve your room to the week before, the Courtyard by Marriott will be booked. You will be at some crappy slum hotel. That'll suck. When you actually get dropped off or picked up, they're going to be like, you're staying there. They're going to think that you're a C-level player at best. Book your Courtyard by Marriott room right now for session. You know where you're going to be. You're going to come in for the ball. You're going to come in at some time in June. You're going to come to the Statesman of the Year banquet. You're going to come to Jeff City. I'm telling you. Pro tip. If you wait until the week before to book your room in the Courtyard, you will be at a crappy hotel. That's just the way this town works. Who knows more about Jeff City than me? No one. I'm telling you, book your room now. If you don't, you will be at a crappy hotel. If you're going to come in and visit us sometime in December, book your room now. If you don't, you won't get a room. You don't have to go to a crappy place, and everybody's going to make fun of you. So all that said, I think if you look at the House, I would say the Republicans might even pick up a seat. Adam Swadron is kind of the race they're focused on, and Craig Fischel down in Springfield. Those two are the seats that they currently have that are probably the most in danger that they're having to really put some effort into. And so I think you'll see them spend the money it takes there. Overall, if I had to guess, I would say Republicans pick up one, really the plus or minus on it. I don't think it's probably very good for the state. I think there was one thing that was funny. I heard an HRCC ad today complaining about saying that you shouldn't trust someone who left a bunch of people stunned when stuck when he declared bankruptcy. Um, I agree with him. I'm just a little surprised that HRCC would put out a if you're bankrupt, maybe you shouldn't be in high office radio ad because, well, the speaker, right? I mean, you took the balls on it. I like it. I mean, it's funny, but and it will make for great material because I did get a recording of that ad. It's gonna be super. Um, but that said, let's look around. I put out the Whispering Gallery. I've got a few questions. Interviews. Well, I think what the governor's doing is talking to a few people. You can call it an interview if you want to. He's going to visit with some people. I think that's started. He's going to go on a trip here Thursday. I'd be a little surprised if they have their guy. If they have their guy, then this process is if the governor announces the new AG before he leaves on his trip, I'm gonna get the feeling that he knew he was going to pick a while back. If he waits till he gets back, I would say probably pretty fast after he gets back. Again, the folks are out there: Luke Meyer, Tim and Will Sharp, Kurt Schaefer, David Gregory. I think you have to put Andrew Bay at the top of the list. If there's an announcement before he goes, I would assume it'd be him. Stephanie Bell's in there. Gary Allman, Bill Hardwick is a guy I'd throw in there. Absolutely throw in there. Hardwick is somebody that's a talented guy. I think could be very good. Try to think a little step forward. That's a decent list. I mean, there may be somebody else that's not discussed, but the list is not particularly long of Republican attorneys. Eddie Grimes in there, Mark Ellinger. So that's my take on it. The Senate leadership, I got a text from a response to the Whispering Gallery. Yeah, I think Senator Koenig is considering, instead of running for floor leader, I think he's considering changing that and maybe running for pro tem. And I'll tell you why. The truth is, when you run for floor leader, it's harder because you don't. When you run for pro tem, you got a bunch of chairmanships. You did that. The pro tem picks the chairmanships and the committees. When you're floor leader, you don't. So you could promise someone a props chair, Eco Depot, which I think they already have. There's all sorts of things you can promise folks when you're in that spot that you don't have the ability. So it's almost as easy to run for two as it is for one. The question is going to be his number two. Wouldn't surprise me if that was Cindy O'Loughlin. She's already running for floor leader. Cindy will be a tough customer. Cindy has appeal. I don't know that she could come out of the room with 13. I don't think she go in the room with 13. The truth is, somebody asked me, where do you think it's at? I don't think that any of them have 13 commits that you could actually believe. I think they probably all have about 15. I think the only person that has like legit hard commits that he could probably feel good about is Caleb Rowden. So Andrew Koenig will have to pull hard commits off of Caleb Rowden. Tough move. I don't think anybody's got 13 for majority leader yet. We'll see what happens. I don't know what Andrew Koenig getting into the pro tem race does to Caleb Rowden's 15 or 16. We'll just have to see. My instinct is he probably still has his votes, but it will be a rockier road if Andrew's in. Make for a more interesting Thursday, right? So with that, we'll see what happens there. I think that probably Koenig may have a little bit, maybe a one vote edge and a hard commit that you could believe, but I think Bernsketter's got the clearest path to 13. And I think it could also very likely end up 12-12, which would be fun to observe. Not fun if you're a Missouri State Senate Republican. That would be, however that ends, people are going to be ticked. So you look back no further than the Engler mayor fight back in the day. You will see people pissed off. So if that's the way that happens. So anyhow, long story long, will be interesting. I would say if George Aruza wins, that's good for Andrew Koenig on whatever race. He could absolutely win, kind of going around the state, the state Senate race to watch the 24th. It's kind of funny. The further south you go, the better for Republicans. Kirkwood, not so much. Kirkwood's changed a little bit. It's not as reliable. So the change there is going to be it's going to be a very interesting. That Kirkwood has drifted a little, and so pretty Democratic. But it goes on south of Kirkwood, and all that's becoming very reliably Republican. Um, and with you got a Cori Bush issue, you've got a city issue, you've got George Caruso, who's ran a lot of attack ads. They've landed very well, ran a very good campaign. And the fact is, if you could tell Republicans that they could be competing in this district, they would have never thought, especially against the candidate, top tier candidate like Tracy McCreary. I'd rather be her than him, but that's going into election day. But the fact that you kind of have to pause is a testament to what a good campaign they've ran. Go around and say, Amendment 3, lots of fun on Amendment 3. I went over and did this radio show with Fred Kel Brazil and my other and Richard West. They were all about Amendment 3, telling me exactly, bad. I took it like this. The folks that did the medical did it the same way, constitutional amendment, all this stuff. I think it's been a pretty good rollout. Now, I don't care who got a license, and I don't smoke pot, but it's kept out of my face. So as a person that voted for it, because I don't think I should tell you what to smoke, I didn't want a bunch of Denver stuff where everything stunk and all that stuff was all in my face. It was kind of out of the way, which I support. In Jeff City, it's a very nice system. There's a pot shop in Jeff City. It's I didn't even know where it was until it was told where it was, what it even was. You wouldn't even know if they're selling pot in there, which is kind of great. My mother could come to town and she wouldn't even know they sold pot here, which would make her happy. So I think the existing system is done pretty well. If you want a medical marijuana card, let's be honest, it's easy. It's an easy thing. It's easy to get. It's not stressful. You go get your card. You go buy your pot. I don't think it's that hard for anybody to get one or to get pot. However, again, I don't think you should have to do all that either. You should be able to buy pot for it too. But I personally like it if it's not just in your face, right? A little bit more removed. So this system would do that. There's a major objection to how the licenses were given out. The pushback you're seeing is people very angry because they didn't get a license. You're not hearing anybody say, hey, we shouldn't sell pot, which is who would have thought, right? What people are saying is we don't like how these licenses were distributed. So if you have a medical license, you're probably getting a recreational license. And a few other folks will as well. They did some kind of bizarre stuff with they put in like an equity officer. Odd things to me, but all paid for out of the taxes from pots or whatever. So I think it's easy. It's so much easier to get a no. I think Missouri would start off going to be no, and you have to talk them into yes. I think there's some folks some people love pot so much they're talking folks into the no. They spent a lot of money on talking folks into a yes. I think it's going to be extremely close, but I think probably yes. I'd rather be yes than no. It's going to be close. I think that you've seen Republicans or kind of get with really liberal Democrats on shooting this down. Regular people probably don't care. So I always like to be with the regular people. They're a lot bigger numbers, but it's going to be very close. So we'll see what happens. Prediction of state Senate. I think the state Senate stays even. The Republicans may pick up a seat in the House, which is insane that they could even maybe do that. Just things have not worked out for President Biden the way I'm sure he had hoped. And when I throw my truck up, I damn sure know it hasn't worked out the way I would have hoped. But that said, I think tomorrow night you're going to see Eric Schmidt. I took up, so it's funny. We did this show on PBS. You go check it out. It was our pre-election special, Fun Times. I really believe that you need to have I really thought at the time, Joe Mannies goes Eric Schmidt plus 9. Okay. Mahoney went 11. So I went Larry Pulitz and The Price is Right and did 12. And then Jim Bukowski goes other one with 18, which I was like, oh, whatever, Jim. I leave you off drinking out of a mug from the Jim Bukowski show. I thought, no way. Well, you know what? I think Jen, I don't know that she's going to win Price is Right rules because if you're over it all, you lose. So I would be the Larry Ployce in this situation. However, I do think she's in a good spot. I think she might get close to the pin. The world is trending up, and she may look very intelligent. I would move my 12 up to plus or minus 15, and the momentum's there. I'm going to tell you, the other thing, I've asked a few folks this. If you're a pro-choice supporter, right, tell me what needs to happen tomorrow. Seriously, message me this. I'm very interested in this. What do you need to see happen? Because here's the thing: if something's true, it's verifiable on one side and on the other, right? So it's very true. So tell me if what needs to happen for people to say, okay, this is where there was a true movement of women, of pro-choice women who came out and moved the needle somewhere. Give me what that looks like, but give it to me before 7 o'clock. Is it Schmidt only wins by single digits? Is it Tracy McCreary wins by double digits? Is it the Democrats pick up a seat? I mean, tell me where. And I think that the real unfortunate part here is that you are almost seeing a pro-life victory bounce in some places, as odd as that is to believe. And you're just seeing pro-choice folks, even if you are pro-choice, damn, you may or may not need an abortion in your life, right? At some point in your life. But you're going to buy gas and groceries. And it just looks like, now, again, this is me talking at about 4:15 on Monday. But I wonder if on 11:15 tomorrow night, we're not discussing how this was a colossal mistake, right? That maybe, or a colossal mistake to think there was going to be a backlash. Because I'm just not seeing the backlash. I'm not saying it's not there. You can tell me all you need to tell me. I don't see the backlash yet. So we'll see. I'm serious. Somebody that's watching this, message somebody that's pro-choice, tell me what would be something to look for to say, okay, the abortion issue on the pro-choice side moved people. It really stirred up these people in this district, and this district that was going to go Republican now went Democrat because this person was pro-life, this person was pro-choice. I wonder, where is it, right? Because I'm starting to think maybe it's not going to happen. And I know there'd be people that'd be ticked and pissed, and I get it. But and look, I'll be the first one to say, if you could tell me, okay, this district was legitimately competitive. Bridget Walsh-Moore's district, very competitive district. She was pro-choice. She campaigned on being pro-choice. Her opponent was pro-life. Then, and here's the results. Here's what it's going to be. She campaigned on abortion. Abortion looks got behind her. She won. Tell me where that is, because if that's the case, then I'm in for you. And I'd like to know. I mean, because I'm kind of with you. I'd like to see where that is. I'm looking for it right now. I'm not seeing it. So I think Tracy McCreary should have won the district by 5. If she wins it by 10, okay, there you go. If she wins it by 2, I don't know that means that abortion issue is a issue that moves folks. So going to be interesting to see how those things come out. Do me a favor, the show. I don't know who's going to be the show this week. I don't know who's going to win. You tell me. You tell me who's going to win. I'll tell you who's going to be on. Either way, I'm going to try to get Barklage on because that's a good time, and we will pal up and we'll get some folks. It's sometimes a little harder to get Democrats to come on after elections in Missouri anymore. I know. Look, I'm not telling you it's good. Matter of fact, I've said it many times. I think the state probably runs better with about a 95-person majority, 90 to 95, probably closer to 90 in the House, and 20 senators on the majority side, whichever party. I don't think supermajorities are good. They produce worse policies because imagine this. I'll end with this. Imagine that you're running for office. You're running very, very hard, and you run for office, and you're a Republican, and you're like, by God, you look at my handout. I had a handout. Oh, there's a Tracy McCreary handout I had. Let's pretend like this is a Republican House member's handout. You go and you win that primary, and you knock on thousands of doors, raise $1,000, spend that money. You have your general election. It's not that competitive, right? But you go to all the events. You go to the fly around for Eric Schmidt. You're excited, and on your thing, this does not say this is the Tracy McCreary one. So let's pretend this is someone else. It's your endorsement of Missouri Right to Life and the Chamber and the NRA and the Aaron Dorr and all this stuff, right? So you're like, I'm good to Jeff City. You come there and you're like, Speaker Plotkin, I got a great idea. We should cut taxes. And he's like, look, pal, we just cut taxes. And the fact is, if you cut taxes much more, the court's going to make us raise taxes to fund education again. Got to be a little careful here. And you're like, okay, no problem. I got it. Why do 4-year-olds get Uzis? He's going to be like, ooh, damn, son. Actually, in Missouri, 3-year-olds can have Uzis. So you would be actually passing a restrictive gun law. And you'd be like, no way, crap. I know. Let's ban abortions. It'd be like, strike 3, my man. We've kind of banned abortions. So you're going to be like, you've worked hard, you've knocked on these doors, you've done all these things, you're ready to go, and it's done, right? I mean, it'd be like parachuting into France in 1946 and wondering where the fight was. So I have some sympathy, but here's what ends up happening. Then you're like, well, I want to accomplish something. Everybody works so hard to get here. They work so hard to get in leadership. They want to accomplish things. That's just the nature of a politician, right? You want to accomplish stuff. Well, what's left to accomplish, right? And so you end up scrolling through Facebook and being like, oh, this may sound crazy, but this guy, I'll do this. And you come up with a policy that's will get you attention and you'll have an accomplishment, but it might be a little nuts. And I think that's where we are, unfortunately. And I think if you can look down on Republican, but look at yourself in the reverse and just think, what would you do in that situation? And I'm not sure you would do too much differently. I don't was going to show this week, but we will be back. I've got your Paul Whelan interview. I'm going to send to Kelton right now before I forget. Great discussion with a guy who transcends it all. He served in the House minority in the 90s. He was there when Jeffco was blue, believe it or not. Now he's there when you couldn't squeeze anything blue into Jeffco, except maybe some guys in some tight pants at Gene's Country Club in Beaver. So he talks about how he served in the Senate. He came in the House when after 10 they had that huge supermajority. He served in the Senate while the governor was from his own county, was his own constituent. Then he went over and he served in the Senate with those big bulls of Kehoe, Wasson, and Richard. Now he served in this, and then he served in the Senate of the Wild West of just as they would call the WWF, faction warfare. And now he's leaving state government after a lengthy career. I love talking politics with Paul Whelan, a guy that gets it. He's won tough races. I enjoyed the visit. So look for that tomorrow sometime. Then I'm going to head over to St. Louis, maybe tonight or first thing in the morning, maybe tonight. So then if you've got a campaign, if you got something going on in the campaign, please let me know. Would love to come out and check out whatever you got election day stuff going on. Oh, and thoughts from my man, Steve Ellman, newly need, thinking about you, man. Love you. If you need anything, I will be in St. Louis, and I'll bring you whatever you need. You need a cup of soup, Tylenol, whatever fixes new needs. Let me know. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you on television Sunday, probably again tomorrow night. We'll be calling races. Going to be a good time. We'll see you then.